Okay, so I pulled the bulkheads out of this car of mine, and like I said in the end of the last one, I'm going to try doing dashboards in here. And all I've done so far is cut a couple of pieces. They're a similar radius to the inside of the front bulkheads, and I'm going to space them out a little bit and wrap them the same way I did with this in like a 1/2 mil styrene, couple layers. Probably overhang the front just to give it a little bit of the sun visor on it. And like I said on the last video, I'm going to try and build suicide doors. So I need to get a latch mechanism of some kind into the side of this dashboard. Now, what I've been using all the way along is cheapy rare earth magnets. I mean, these things are a lot stronger than they look like they should be. They'll actually pull the doors shut from about 2 inches away. And if I stick one of them underneath of a layer of styrene in the side of the dashboard and another one inside the door underneath a layer of styrene, from this distance they'll probably pull the doors shut. So all you got to do is give it a little bit of a slam and it shuts itself and stays closed. A lot of guys use rare earth magnets for holding their lids on their drift cars. There's a stealth body mount kit out there that seems to work pretty good, and they actually hold really, really well, unless you bash into walls too hard. But anyways, that's what I'm starting on. I'm gonna play around a little bit, probably wrap this and maybe get a couple of dials going. We'll show you a step somewhere along the line, I'm sure. I guess this is the direction I'm going. Now, what I've got here is the front end of the dashboard, the front side of the dashboard, and I've actually cut a few pieces of this tubing. This is the same stuff I used for the alternator and whatever. It doesn't really matter the size. Gauges come in all sorts of sizes, but I'm doing a little bit of detail on the dashboard, and all those is just a little slice off there, clean it up and stick it down. But I'm going 1 extra mile with this, and I'm gonna backlight this, so I'm gonna have to drill these holes out in the end, because I've got some clear polyester here, which is basically, you can pick it up at any local hobby shop, and I'm going to throw a chunk of that behind it, maybe frost it a little bit, just scratch it up so that it doesn't shine through bright, and hopefully I'm going to get some lights in behind all these dials, but I need to cut the holes out to put that behind. Now I'm going to show you a quick trick that I use for drilling holes in styrene. I mean, most guys, if you have a power drill around, you'll start drilling a hole and that's what happens. Now, sawdust out of the way. The trick I know is, instead of going forwards this way, you turn it and go backwards this way. And instead of actually cutting a hole, it more melts a hole in your styrene. See if we can get her going here. Right? It takes a little bit longer, but you can actually get a half clean hole rather than, right? You can get a hole rather than whatever that is. I mean, that's just wasted material. But if you run it backwards, it doesn't have a tendency to grab and just shatter all over the place. So I'm going to be cutting a few holes out here, right, for these. And I've also got to cut holes out for my rare earth magnets. And I'll give you a quick shot of what those look like before I actually totally encapsulate the whole dashboard and hide them on you. Okay, so this is where I'm at. I'm still working on bits and pieces, and I haven't actually wrapped it yet. And as you can see, the ends aren't 100% finished because I need to actually put one of those little rare earth magnets in there, and then I've got to basically cover it up so I don't see it. I mean, I can glue it in there, but I think if I trap it, it's more mechanically sound than just letting it roll around in there. And if it's up here and the door is actually down here, it'll misalign the door. So I want that to stay exactly where I put it. So I'll throw a couple of pieces in here just to brace it up. Nothing serious, but as you can see, that's where I'm going with this. It's gonna look like that. I'm gonna have a steering column in here somewhere, and I don't know if that picks up on film very well, but here, let's see if we can throw it under a light. Yeah, maybe not. There's actually plexiglass in those, and all I did was drilled holes, sanded them the way I wanted them, and then clipped a piece of plexiglass behind it. That polyester stuff you can pick up anywhere. I've used packaging off of like servo boxes and like those nightmare to open boxes or packaging that everybody's got. I've used those before just for clear plastic. It does work. This, I seem to like this stuff. It's actually fairly decent to work with. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it and I'll come back and show you where the magnets, or how the magnets will work. Probably actually get it mounted before I come back too. Okay, so I've got this thing all fairly finished to a point where I can sort of leave it for a bit. As you can see, I've got magnets in here, right? One on this side, one on this side. Those aren't really necessary for anything at this point, but to keep doors closed, that's probably the ideal way that I've found to do it. And on to the next step. I've got a couple of floorboards cut. Nothing fancy. They're just simply a couple pieces that slide in, one on either side. And I've actually grabbed my largest battery that I have. Let's see if we get a better angle on that. This is that 2600 mAh 2-cell that I have, and it's going to go in here somewhere. I need to figure out where the front of the seat starts. I'm going to make this fairly tight so it won't bounce around too much, but I've got some clearance on the belt with where it sits right now, which is good. This one's actually wider than some of the other ones I run. So I'm going to glue these on, probably fabricate the top of this seat, and then I can figure out where I'm going from there. Okay, I've got a bench seat fabricated, and I've already got a battery slid inside of it. As you can see, it actually goes all the way across and through into this side. It goes underneath of this pulley system. I've got a little bit of room in there. You'll have to figure out how much room you have versus how big of a battery you have. It's one of those things you got to keep track of before you build it. One thing I would make a point of telling you guys is I've got enough room behind this whole cab assembly so far that I can actually put my finger behind the cab between the spur gear and the cab. And the main reason for that is these two holes that I have in the engine, I need to be able to push this whole assembly back. Oh, I gotta take the battery out before I can do that. I need to be able to push the whole thing to the back so that I can actually pop it out, right, and get the whole thing to come out. It's one of those things that I'm building something and you're hopefully figuring out exactly why I'm doing it. I think that's about it for this video. I'm gonna probably keep continuing on. I'm gonna put a cover over this. I'm gonna do some details on the seats here, probably off camera. Simply a couple strips just to sort of simulate some of the upholstery that's in this thing. Next, I think I'm actually going to go back forwards again, and I'm going to try and cover the wheels with some sort of a fairing.